Hi guys, Tugger here with a new video, and this video will be my should you main hunter in Dragonflight PvP. And I must say I'm a very excited guy concerning hunter. I think those three specs are very unique and very fun to play and mess around. They have multiple builds that you could go for as BM, hunter, and survival. And I think that's something that is actually quite new because in Shadowlands, those three classes were quite nice in PvP, in 2v2 and 3v3. But I think design-wise, you didn't really have a lot of choices. I think there were like a couple builds that you could play, but really the main talents that you're going for were always locked in. There was not really a moment where you had to change talents based on design, based on comps, based on enemies. That's not happening. But with Dragonflight, this is really happening. I feel like you have a lot more choices, and we are going to delve into the BM Hunter right away. But first, we're going to talk about the class tree and what you're gaining with Dragonflight and what you're losing in Shadowlands from Shadowlands. But I feel like you're winning a lot of things actually that makes it up for the thing that you're actually losing in Shadowlands. So let's talk right away. So as a BM hunter or as a hunter or whatever, you do get a lot of neat talents. I must say to have, of course, the scatter shot or binding shot as a BM hunter is a big win, and the same for intimidation or high explosive trap as a MM or survival, whatever class you're playing. I feel like it gives you a bit more flexibility with the design that you're going for. Do you want to AoE stun or do you want to scatter shot so you have an easier time to actually put some CC on someone, especially on a 30-second CD? You also have intimidation. You could play that as an MM, but you would lose the lone wolf buff. Or you could play with high explosive trap if you want to push people around. Depending on the maps, it could be very strong. Again, I feel like you're also winning a lot of stuff that you maybe would not play. Like, for example, you could play Killer Instinct as a survival hunter. I don't know if it's going to be very good, but it gives you the option to do so. The same for going for Steel Trap as an MM Hunter or as a BM Hunter. That's quite nice versus, let's say, Demon Hunters. I feel like you have a lot of great tools to deal with certain situations. I feel like the class tree is pretty, not, I would say, basic, but cookie cutter builds that you can have in PvP. I feel like there is not a lot of variation. You could go for a bit more self-healing, self-peeling with rejuvenating winds and natural mending, for example. You could also shoot through walls with Sentinel Owl, but again, you should spend a lot more points to get all the benefits, and I don't know if you're going to be capable to do that. You also can do improve your man's pet so your pets doesn't really die instantly. You also get some abilities back from Shadowlands, like for example Death Chakram, and you have also the possibility as a BM hunter and a survival hunter to have explosive shot. So you will have a lot more options concerning damage. So I feel like it's a very good thing to have. You also have some poison injection, so you could do more damage with your serpent sting stacks. And I feel like that's also a viable play that you could go for if you so desire. So now let's talk about the BM hunter. I'm going to say I'm very surprised on how they are going for BM Hunter. I don't know if it's really good. I feel like I have options, but I don't know if those options are more of an illusion and there is like one cookie cut to build and you have nothing else, or that all those builds are actually viable. So that's something that you would try to test whenever the numbers are final. So whenever you're level 17, the expansion is out, and there is nothing more tuning wise like every day going on. I feel like you will have more of an option and more of a idea of the class being good or not. But at the moment, it's very hard to actually gauge if it's worth to go for Wailing Arrow or not. Um, Sad part is Wailing Arrow doesn't silence players, so I feel like it's not really as good as it should be. I feel like if it silenced players, it would not be a bad thing. But I guess they just remove it because it's too overloaded for some reason, I think. But let's talk about things that you gain from Shadowlands. You do have more buttons to press since you do have a Call of the Wild, which is a CD that you can use to get a zoo upon the enemy, and it does quite a lot of damage because you can have Blood Frenzy, which means that the barb shot affects all the summoned pets, so that's quite nice to have. You could also play with, of course, a snake bite with Aspect of the Wild, basically giving you more damage on Cobra Shot, so you can spam that as well. Or you could go for Master Handler and each temporary beast summoned to reduce the cooldown of Aspect of the Wild. Now, I don't know if it's going to be very viable in PvP because it does do AoE damage. It can break CC. But you can also go for Wild Call with one with the back, and I think you are also going quite nice with that build. You can also go for Brutal Companion, again doing more damage with your pets, so that could be also very fun to play around. And Piercing Fangs, which is a legendary that you mostly not will find, you should not play that in Shadowlands, but in Dragonflight you can play it, and Bestial Wrath will do a lot of damage over its course, so that I think it's a very nice thing to have. Killer Cobra, also legendary. Combo Shot resets the cooldown on kill command. It depends on how kill command is tuned, so you will have a lot more buttons to press. I feel like BM hunters don't really seem to be like Shadowlands, where it's only Cobra Shot and nothing else, and with Barb Shot, of course, to get the focus. But now I feel like Kill Command could do very well in your rotation if you are actually working towards a Kill Command build. You do get also Bloodshed and Aspect of the Beast, so you get two last Shadowlands talents, so I think it's very nice to have and very nice to combine. So if you go for a Bestial Wrath with Bloodshed, it does do a lot of damage in total, with Bestial Wrath increasing the damage of your pet and yourself, and Bloodshed increasing even more damage from your pet. You will have Dire Beasts also, and you can go for even further into the tree. I think Dire Beast by itself is not very strong, but if you improve it with Dire Command, Dire Frenzy, and Dire Pack, I feel like Dire Beast could be very fun to play around. But you will have to sacrifice a lot of stuff, like for example, either Scent of Blood or Call of the Wild, because I think Call of the Wild is something you want to go for in PvP. In general, I feel like you have a lot more choices than in Shadowlands. I feel like it is also much more stronger DPS wise. I don't know if it's CC wise going to be very strong, because CC again is king in arenas. We need to see how it all works, but in my opinion, should you main BM Hunter in Dragonflight? I think if you did play BM Hunter in Shadowlands, you will only love the changes that they made to BM Hunters in Dragonflight. I think it's a clear improvement from Shadowlands to Dragonflight. I think in general, you will have a lot more fun pressing abilities because you will have new abilities to press. I think the class tree combined with the BM Hunter tree is something that a lot of classes don't really have. I think the synergy is really great. There's a few talents where I see that they could tune it a bit higher or a bit less. Like for example, Wailing Arrow, I feel like even in PvE, I feel like it's going to be very much used. Maybe I'm wrong because it does AoE damage, but I just hope it gets a silence on PvP. That would be very fun to play around. I guess you still have how it's called, Camariel Sting, but it would be nice to have Wailing Arrow instead of Camera Sting, because again, it's more control. You get the silence whenever you want and not whenever the poison is going to last. Um, let's talk about PvP talents real quick. You do get Diamond Eyes, something that is very interesting to play versus Demon Hunters, for example. And just in general, if you're playing BGs or RBGs, Diamond Eyes is something you can go for if you want to CC people, but you know that there is going to be CC breaks. With Diamond Eyes, this is not going to happen, and it can help you to actually do the CC you really want to the enemy. So in all, I would suggest you main BM Hunter if you play BM Hunter in the past. didn't you play BM Hunter, I would then suggest to try it out. But I think with the next specs, you will have a bit more fun if you're not known with Hunter, because again, BM Hunter is quite specific with, but MM and survival is a bit more varied. And I feel like the gameplay is also transported from other specs. So again, class 3, you could go for a lot of ways. I think it's going to be better level 70, where you can spend a bit more points. For example, you could go for steel trap, you could go for explosive shot. That's 3 points, and that is 3 points. So you will have to make choices regardless. I feel like Arctic Bola is not, it's passive damage, so it could be nice to play around. But I think explosive shot is something that does a lot of damage in general. But you could go for death chakram, so explosive shot, and maybe another point somewhere to compensate with the points that you already spent. Let's talk about marksmanship hunter. There is not a lot of changes coming from Shadowlands to Dragonflight, that I must admit. The things that you might see changed is you have a bit more choices, I would say, talent wise, and you do get legendaries and covenant abilities a bit here and there through the tree. You do get death blow, so that's quite nice to reset the kill shot charges and causing it to be usable on any target. You can also go for razor fragments if you like the AoE damage it provides. You could also improve your true shot to happen more often or better. And you also can go for more of a wind arrows build where you do more damage with passive damage from aim shot. So aim shot will do wind arrows, and in general you can also have your wind arrows proccing true shot, and that could be also very fun. So it means that you will have a lot more true shots throughout the game, but it will be less controlled, because again you will have to choose. I feel like you cannot spend a lot of points on things that you had before, like let's say bursting shot. It is 1 point, but that 1 point is very precious, because you do need to use it somewhere. I feel like lone wolf is a bit too central. It would be nice if it was a bit on the left or the right side, because again, if you want to play with a pet, that's a dead talent, and you do need to go for lone wolf if you want to improve your critical strike chance on aim shot and rapid fire. Camera shot is still a AoE talent. I don't even know if it's going to be usable in PvE. You also have Wailing Arrow, which you could improve it even further to get your Wailing Arrow firing off 5 wind arrows at your primary target, and that's pretty much 5k damage, right? You could also have Wailing Arrow resetting the cooldown of rapid fire and generating 2 charges of aim shot, so you could continue the assault whenever you're doing a true shot with a double tap. Then you go for your aim shot, rapid fire, it's on CD. You do Wailing Arrow to get the cities back up, and then you can just do your rotation again really quickly. So I think you have a lot of options. You could go for the left side, which is more of an AoE side. So if you want to do PvE, I feel like volley, the heavy and the light ammo could be fun, with salvo also being the explosive shot whenever you're doing a multi-shot, for example, or a volley. You also have Bulletstorm, could be also very fun to play around, but I feel like that's more of a PvE build or PvE side. But now you can also go for the middle side, which is more of a true shot build, or more of a Wailing Arrow build with a wind strike, with wind arrows. Or you can go for the right side, where you will have true shot procs with also a lot more passive damage from wind arrows with your aim shot. So you have a lot of options. I don't know if those options are going to be viable or not, but I feel like it's still more than what you had in Shadowlands, and that is something that is actually very fun to play around and to test around. Should you main Marksmanship Hunter in Dragonflight PvP? I don't actually very know. It's very specific. It depends if you like to play more of a sniper play style, which is more of a max range style, more of a kiting range style, where you're doing actually most of the damage with a bit less utility, because again, if you're from 40 yards, you will have more difficult time to actually put a frost trap, for example, or freezing trap, excuse me. So you will have a lot more options with your marksmanship tree, but is it enough to make you, let's say, main hunter? That's another option, another discussion. I feel like for me it is worth to main hunter by itself because it has three great specs. But if you want to play only marksmanship hunter, the thing is marksmanship hunter is notoriously always bound to get nerfed because people don't like to play against the marksmanship hunter. It's a bit like warlocks in general. It's not the spec that is always on top of the world because often than not it will be PM or survival hunter. But if you like to do big amounts of damage, I would say montage video damage, I would suggest to play marksmanship hunter because I feel like the damage is still going to be very high and you still have PvP talents to help you with that. I would say sniper shot is very strong. You also have true shot mastery, which you can combine with your true shot PvP, with your true shot talents, and you could do also a very nice build with that. I feel like a hunting pack is also something very interesting to play with Born to be Wild, so you will be super fast most of the time. If I'm picking, let's say, where is it? Hunting pack. My CD on Aspect of the Cheetah is 1.2 minutes, so it's quite nice to have a mobility option to also just run away quickly and safely. Um, so this is Marksmanship Hunter. Let's talk about Survival Hunter real quickly. And I think Survival Hunter is probably the best spec from all three because it has a lot of options. You could play a semi-ranged, semi-melee build. You can play more of an AoE build. You can play more of a bump build. You can play more of a pet build. You can play more of a mongoose bite build where you do a lot of damage on mongoose. You can also do a spearhead build where you do a lot of bleeds, so you can play with serrated shots to improve those bleeds. So you have a lot of great things going on. Now the question is which is viable, which is not viable. That we will see whenever Dragonflight is going to come out. But in general, that would be the build that I would go for. So coordinated assault, which gives you 20% increased damage on wildfire bomb, but also having kill shot have a bleed on the target. With coordinated kill, actually giving you a CD reduction on kill shot, but also making kill shot being able to use on any target regardless of their current health. And that by itself is a very big CD. I feel like the CD by itself is much better than what it was in Shadowlands. It's more interactive. You will have to think the rotation out. You need to do kill shots and do wildfire bombs and try to maximize damage. You also have Fury of the Eagle, which is also a very fun ability to press. I don't know if it's going to be very, very useful in PvP, but I feel like if you can combine those two rows, I would say, those two capstones, you can have some crazy gameplay that you maybe in Shadowlands would not have. So you have a lot more buttons to press, and in general, I feel like you will be more of a semi-ranged class. Um, I feel like in general, I would go for something like this. So with Wildfire Infusion instead of a quick shot because I feel like arcane shot doesn't do a lot of damage, but that's design. That's also number wise. But I would just play with Wildfire Infusion, Fury of the Eagle. I would put maybe 2 points into Ruthless Marauder, and then you would have 3 more points to spend. I would then spend it probably 1 point here on Bombardier, and I would then spend those 2 points into Wildfire Bomb CD reduction. So that would be my build for Survival Hunter, but I saw a lot of builds going on also for Spearhead, doing a bleed build with also those bombs. I don't know if it's going to count into the serrated shots, but it's also quite nice to have. Deadly Duo is also something very interesting to have. So you have CD reduction on Spearhead, basically making it in 1 minute CD. And you also have an AoE section in the middle of the talent tree, so you could do some Mythic Plus, for example, or raids if you so desire. But I feel like in PvP you have some options. You have the left side with Fury of the Eagle, the middle side with Coordinated Assault, which is probably for me my favorite capstone, and you have also the right side, which is Spearhead, which I think it's not the best thing, but if you're playing a pet build with bleeds, it could be very strong, but it depends about how it's going to be tuned. If the damage is high on kill command and the damage is high on bleeds, it could be very strong. But if it's not, then I would suggest to go for coordinated assault and Fury of the Eagle. But that's not a guide. I feel like if you're going for a guide, you could go from Big Max. He would probably have multiple guides about multiple builds, but that's the things that I'm watching right now. And I feel like if you're going to main Survival Hunter, having the flexibility on those builds is actually making the spec more desirable in a whole, because if they are nerfing one side of the tree, you still have other builds to fall back, for example. And that's something that I think every class should try for. Should you main Survival Hunter in Dragonflight PvP? I feel like if you're doing a lot of twos, Survival Hunter is still king because of the CC, because of the capacities to run away, to be slippery. I think Survival Hunters and BM Hunters will always be the kings of twos, because it just is a class made for twos. So if you're playing with a healer and you're a Survival Hunter, you know that at one point you will not have a trinket, at one point you will have so much damage that they cannot do anything when they are CC'd, and you're there with a win. So if you want to main Survival Hunter, I feel like it is going to be better if you're a 2's king. If you're more of a 3v3 guy, I feel like Survival Hunter is not super versed into the 3v3 section, because again, it's melee, it's up your face, but you're very squishy as well. Although you're very slippery, you are very squishy, and you don't have Craven stratagem anymore to actually save yourself with important stuff, like for example dots. PvP talents wise, you don't really gain a lot of stuff because everyone got diamond eyes, but I feel like you don't really win anything. But I think Survival Hunter is just one of those classes that don't really need a lot of increased PvP talents, because again, you have Mending Bandage to stop bleeds, diseases, poisons. You have Diamond Eyes to counter specific specs. You have Dragon Scale Armor again to save yourself versus dot based damage. So I think all in all, Survival Hunter mains will be very happy with the state of Survival Hunter. So let's recap a bit those three specs, because again, I think people should realize that Hunter as a whole is a fantastic spec class. They have three fantastic specs which basically plays different from one another. If you don't like BM, you might like MM, you might like survival, and vice versa. So I feel like if you're going to choose a triple DPS spec and you want to be very mobile, you want to do CC, you want to do damage, you want to have different amounts of gameplay, I feel like Hunter is a very good class and reason to play the game. Now, as a whole, should you main Hunter in Dragonflight PvP? I would say yes. So thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate you. Again, comment below what you think about the video, which specs classes are you looking forward to see on video, what are you going to main, what are you going to alt. I feel like Dragonflight is going to be so massive maining and alting that you will have a lot of options in front of you to actually enjoy your time. So thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate you. We will catch each other very soon with a next video, and the next video will be about priests, and priests we will discuss it, of course, tomorrow's video. Again, thank you for watching. Have a great day and be sure to stay safe, and we will catch each other with a new video. Bye.